I want to start a business, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. So then it was just a case of going like, well, what am I good at? And how can I make money at that thing? So it was really just a case of me going, right, and what do I enjoy? So I thought like, well, I really enjoy the outdoors, really enjoy getting people together and feeling good. I've done a lot of training and work, organized a lot of training. So maybe I can make money doing combining all of those things. So where the then we came back, started just like shotgun all these ideas at Go For It. So I went to Go For It, you know, it's like an enterprise program.
Yeah, it's the
So
best in I, isn't it?
with my business, yeah. So invest in I. So went on this whole. That all sounds very grand. To help you write a business plan. That's it, really. You know what I mean? Encourage it. But you go in. I talk about some ideas, and then I was like, okay, so I'm going to do outdoor skiing, and I'm going to combine that with some corporate training, personal development stuff around leadership and communication and stuff like that. That was good. That was fine. Started that March, 1st of March. And then had a couple of customers, which was good. So a couple of people reached out to me on LinkedIn.
So it was all LinkedIn lead generation?
Yep. Yeah. I say lead generation, like it was people I knew just contacted me, said, what are you doing now? Can you do it for me? So I was like, no bother. So did it, and that was good. And I was just getting into my groove, and then COVID hit. And then I was like, right, okay, change the business now. And it was literally like a new customer. So I ended up then going, right, well, what can I do? So started pretty much since then, I started selling online escape rooms and doing online stuff. So I'm still doing CMI and yeah, it's been awesome. It's been really good. And like but there's been a couple of major things it would be best to happen to me within that. So probably a major plug here, but I've got my pin on. Major things for me was joining BNI. Like it was huge, and not like BNI salesperson, but like you see at the moment when there's no networking on, and for me, which I had a business which was basically like a hobby business. I didn't even have a website, Chris, or anything proper. And like I went into just, and then you look, read BNI, read any sort of business networking group, right? As long as you've got people there, I've got a bit of accountability with. I went into it and it was like, I just had to up my game when I walked in the door, because they were going, what, you got a website? What, you got no this, no that? Like even a serious business. So it ends up then you have to be like, right, I need to take it seriously. I need to get proper social media on, and then you get your invoicing sorted, and then you start getting your messaging a bit better, a bit more crystallized.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, that was a really big thing. And then I got a few reviews and a few good customers, and then that helped as well. So probably thinking about those things really building on customers I got, and then being within a regular group, which was meeting, and then holding you to account a wee bit over what you said you were going to do. So at the moment, I just find that awesome, and it's led to some really good opportunities for me. So like, I'm loving it. It's good.
Networking always does, and do you know what? I've tried. I was thinking about joining BNI a couple of years ago, and at the time, the guy was like, you kind of need us to grow, and I was like, I don't, because I'm so booked every week anyway. I was like, I don't. But I was just a little bit egotistical back then. I was just like, I don't really need to pay this guy £1,000.
Well,
but
yeah,
that was my own personal view at that time. But now I can really see the benefit of it, because now we're at a stage where we're trying to expand, and I need to go and do the things that an owner should be doing. Because, as you know, your role changes. You're going from worker, and then the next thing you're going to manager, and then you're trying to do salesperson, you're trying to do marketing, you're trying to do accounting, everything. So you kind of need to step up a bit and network with other people, because you just never know where to lead. And that's I've seriously considered it the last.
Great. I'm at the different stage that you are. Like, I mean, for me, it's interesting, because I don't think it's normal that like I just started a business then joined BNI, because you're right, it is expensive to join. But I thought about making the investment. I was at a stage where I thought to myself, I could really benefit from this, and I have done, because it's exposed me to a lot of businesses. It's got me out there. It's a good way for me to grow.
Yeah. Do you know what?
I enjoy doing that market thing.
I think something like that is really beneficial. But at the time as well, I've been hustled by that many friggin' marketing companies who were just all trying to sell me stuff, and I just got really wise to it. Just kind of I just started saying no and almost being rude to people. Because have you got anybody who's been phoning you and trying to market and trying to say you can get you here and get you there?
Of course. Because
Whereas,
when you're a new business, you're like flesh blood.
yeah,
Just like,
exactly.
here we go.
It's like vulture circling around a wee limping gazelle in the Serengeti. You just, but that was at that time. But now that I've kind of grown, I'm like, actually, do you know what? As a local business, networking is probably one of the best things you can do, because you're not trying to expand, you're not trying to reach. I'm not trying to reach people in Portugal or America or all over the world. I'm trying to reach people in Belfast, so this could probably be one of the best opportunities for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and it's interesting, like you never know who you're gonna meet. Like I'll not name them at the minute because it's like a kind of work in progress. But like, as part of that, one of the people that's connected to one of the people that I know through it is works for one of the universities. So I'm talking to them about supporting an online freshers week, which is
yeah,
amazing. So it's like and I had the opportunity to kind of show what I did to that person. So it was really good. So for me, it was like well, what an amazing opportunity. And online freshers week was something I was like saw in the news. And it's like, how's that gonna work? And next thing somebody was asking me to do one. So I was like, all right, okay, cool. So like you do get good opportunities through it, and it suits me because a lot of my business is my like personality, and it's like how I kind of like build trust with people. So the networking thing really works, and it will work for me when I was at Barclays. So it's kind of it for me. It's like I enjoy doing it. It's an early start in the mornings,
you were
but
always top networker. Like I remember the first time I went to, it was Phil Hunter's talk. It was in Ormo Bads. And straight away,
yeah,
there was a load of pizza at the back, and you were over like, "I am William." I was like, "This guy's just a super." And I remember we went out a couple of months later. I think we went to the beer tent in St George's Market. We're having a couple of drinks and a bit of a laugh, and I was like, I just remember looking at you going, "He is a top quality salesman." I just know it.
operator.
Operator, an absolute, the best word to describe it.
Up here,
Um,
it's good.
so
It's
like,
good. Like
that experience is really going to help you, especially in your business.
yeah, no, thank you, and I appreciate that compliment. But like, I mean, it's been good, and it's really interesting because I'm doing this online team building basically at the moment. Okay, I'm doing it through, like I say, escape rooms. I'm doing a murder mystery next week. How about that? I'm doing some virtual reality stuff, and I was talking to somebody about this last week, and they were like, "Oh, this is a great idea, and you should, scale it up and whatever."
Yeah,
And I was sort of going, it's interesting because on the one hand, I was going, maybe I should. And then on the other hand, I was sort of going, you know what? I'm early doors at this business only 4 months,
yeah,
so I'm sort of going to myself still. I'm actually quite happy building this up organically, and
yeah.
it's like, and I'm getting good reviews, get my Google stuff sorted. So I've got 5-star reviews now, which has been awesome. And it's like, so just building that up bit by bit. And it's kind of like what you've done with your business, because I remember speaking to you a couple of years ago. I think we were in the garden or something in Lisburn maybe, and chatting to
Yeah.
you about it, and you're just going boom, 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 boom. You're not going out day one buying 10 vans, but
No,
every so often I see on social media it's like, oh, we're getting our van. That's the way to do it.
I know, but
So for me,
in my mind, because I'm a very impulsive person, like I get like an emotional thing, and I think about everything, and I'm like, right, I need to get these fans on the road now, and then you need to kind of master where you are first, because there's other things to be sorted out. Like there's other things you need to tighten up on the back end before you grow and scale. That's one thing that I was quite aware of at the very, as we were growing. I was like, I cannot continue like this, because if we have more vans, I'm going to have more pressure. I was like, we need to have some sort of system in the background, some sort of consistent way of doing things every day that's going to allow us to take on more work and allow us to grow. And that it was lucky that it didn't expand too fast, even though I had the money at one point. I just thought, no, I'll get the foundation in place, and now we're ready. Now we're ready to go. Obviously, we've been held back a little bit with COVID-19, but everything's in the right place, and I think that's really important when you get a business to have like a foundation.
yeah,
We're not taking on more stress, because I see it all the time with coaching clients and with just business owners in general. They're just so stressed. They're working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night. And they're just taking on more and more and more and more, and then all of a sudden they just burn out. And it's sad to see, but it's an important thing to have a good structure in place and have good clients and get everything ready. Get before you scale.
no, like great advice. I think, no, I agree. Because I mean, I could do that, and then all of a sudden I need a couple of staff, and then like, but then I'm like still
So
trying to figure out what I'm doing. You gotta get your foundations right first, and then make it happen. I think like, and the point is, listen to your guts. Listen
yeah,
to your gut. Like, I mean, for me, it was just about, and that's actually stood me in really good stead so far. I feel as if a I've been so far decisions have been good and I've been making good decisions. And then B, whenever something hasn't felt right, so
yeah.
there's something telling me don't do this and I haven't done it, I've been like, all right, it's worked out okay. So
Mhm.
like I just think following your gut is and your instincts is a good way to go. And because like look, it's not as if either of us, it's like we just come, I don't know, we're totally green and just come out of like school or something and you're just now all of a sudden you're making money for the first time. I've just been doing it for someone else for the last decade. Now I'm
Yeah,
doing it for me. So you know the principles of how it works.
I'd
And
say
it's
the
just about
sales aspect because I think that's the most important part of any you startup to have a good sales team or having someone on your team who knows how to sell. And because you've already got that skill, it's probably easy for you to pick up the phones and keep whacking away.
yeah, it's good. It's it's funny. Like I mean, the first time I had to sell myself was in March. I mentioned there's a couple of customers, and I was in the room, and it was in having the chat, and you're in the room, and someone turns around and goes, right, so now I get the offer about how much it's going to cost and all. And I was thinking to myself, I was going like before I went in, I was going, this is gonna be weird, you know, because you're used to doing this for years for somebody else, and all of a sudden now you're sitting down with a business owner and you're saying, right, it's X, but it was totally fine. I
Yeah,
was like, right, because it's just you knew when I went in what it was price was going to go in at, and then I just said it, and they were like, sweet. So it's funny. It's just like you build it up so much. It's like, and it's that whole imposter syndrome. You know this in the coaching, I guess, but it's just
yeah.
like something you're telling yourself you can't do it, and then all of a sudden it happens, and next thing you're making money. People are buying
I still get imposter syndrome when I talk about business and I talk because I sometimes I don't even feel like I've earned the right to talk about it or I've earned the right to talk about different things. It's so
Yeah.
strange. Even when I'm coaching a client, there's days where you just go, and yes, of course, because things stress is high and you know your emotions can fluctuate and you feel differently about certain things at different times. But I still get it now and again, and kind of have to realize when you're in a frustrated or stressed or negative state of mind and realize that the things that you're thinking in that moment aren't actually true. And look, I think everybody gets it no matter what level you get to. It's like, am I really qualified to talk about this? Am I really qualified to do this?
Yeah.
But it's funny
Just
because
fine.
then the next day you wake up and go for a run and the sun's shining, you're going, what was I even thinking that for yesterday? You know?
I know, and that's it. Like because it's a bit like sometimes when I'll get asked to do a big bit of work, right? And then it's like when you come off the phone or you get the email in, you go, why are they asking me? And then like you go, like you say, and you leave it for a few hours or whatever, and then you snap out of it again. You're like, they're
Yeah,
asking me for a reason because I'm
yeah,
good. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, it's a funny one, and I think it's probably everybody goes through it when they're starting a business. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to go through that kind of period of self doubt or whatever, but you get over it. You know, it's cool.
exactly.
I'm really enjoying it at the moment. It's good, really enjoying it, and it's good to get encouragement from a lot of people as well, and be able to share a lot with folks, and that's kind of a lot of the business is about. You know, it's about trying to share good stuff and let people share what works for them as well. So that's a big part of what I try and do.
I, I, I
Yeah.
love I love seeing people, even people like yourself who went out and started a business because it's really some when you just feel it's right, you know, you kind of just have to go for it. People like myself kind of started by accident. I didn't really know what was happening, but I get loads of people now who message me and go, "I'm thinking about starting this or I'm thinking about starting that," and they're kind of looking for either advice or a contact or something like that, which is great. And I love seeing it. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, because they don't take the action that's required, it's not an easy thing to do. I get so many people who come to me and go, Chris, I'm thinking about starting a van or thinking about buying a van and starting a van business. And I always sometimes feel like I'm the person throwing cold water in the fire. I'm like, it's not easy. Everybody thinks it's really easy to go out and get a van and make a few quid and shift some furniture. It's a really, really hard business with a lot of liability. And you need to be ready to price accordingly, but also have your service at such a standard where you can charge those prices.
Hmm.
And then there's some people who come through and they do really well. And I just love seeing people you know, when you meet them a few years ago, and then all of a sudden they're starting to do well. It's just brilliant to see.
I
And I
think
think it all starts from a conversation that maybe you had with them, which is fantastic.
well, look, see for me, somebody asked me this same thing maybe it was 2 weeks ago, right? And somebody I know lives in England, and they contacted me just to say, "Oh, look, I see all your content or whatever, and it looks like you're doing really well." And I was like, "Well, I'm only starting, like like it's not as if I'm making £1 million here, but I'm enjoying it, enjoying the journey, learning a lot." And they were like, "I'd love to start a business. I'd love to get going with something, love to get started. What would you say?" Or I'm just not sure what I want to do. And I says, "Listen, just get started with something. Like, just do something." Because you see, when you start, if you have an idea and you just start doing something, and you will figure it out as you go. That's what I did. Honestly, it's what I did. Even that meeting I had with like the go for it stuff. It wasn't as if I woke up one morning and it was like, oh, I've got this brilliant idea for a business. Nobody has, right? Nobody has the idea, like the invention that they're going to do this amazing new thing, which is going to set the world on fire, and also have the skills to market it. Those people don't usually exist, right? Usually what people do is kind of thing you're doing, which is like a conventional business idea where there's a market for it and you're going to do it better than other people, which is what you're doing well. Or it's something like me, which is more like what do I kind of enjoy doing? Could I market that skill? And that's kind of what I'm at.
Yeah.
So I just try to say to this person, listen, just think about what you're good at and just start doing it. Honestly, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
People just obsess too much over like details, and like honestly, just get going.
Yeah, you just have to start taking action, start making phone calls, start doing anything. Creating a Facebook page can be daunting for a lot of people, and then all of a sudden create it, and you just never know where it could lead. And usually using something that's within your skill set or something you're really passionate about is a good start. I think because most of the entrepreneurial skills can be developed, like they're not all things that you have to naturally be good at. You have to be good at something. You have to be good at whatever you're trying to do. But then all the stuff around it, sales, marketing, you can learn all those things and get better at them. So just figure out what your idea is, start pushing it, and then you can start to figure out the rest of it after that.
Yeah, I do agree though. Like if it's not you as the salesperson, having a good sales element to your business is really, really important because look, the bottom line is you need to make money. And the only thing that's going to get if you're talking about scale, we've spent a bit of time talking about scale in businesses here. The only way you're going to scale a business is through sales.
Yeah.
You need to sell to scale it, and like you need to get cash in your business. And so the reality is you need to sell. So that would probably be the other thing. It's like, yes, absolutely get started with something, but just make sure that there's some element to your business or somebody who's in your team who can help you sell it.
Yeah.
Or it's something which is sellable. That's kind of important as well. So I think like what I try to do, what works for me is that yes, I'm doing kind of the personal development stuff, right? Fine. But I've got a lot of stuff to fall back on because all my stuff is through experiences. It's all experiential. So it's all outdoor. It's climbing walls. It's going in caves, or it's on virtual reality, or it's an online game, or it's escape room. So there's always substance to it. Mm-hmm. So and because there's so while I kind of develop obviously the educational aspect of it and build that more into my business, at the end of the day, like people are see value in those experiences, so they're paying for them. So they're happy to pay for them. So it's kind of that kind of works for me in my business is buying those services in. So sometimes maybe some advice is thinking about, are there people in your network that you can work with and you can add value to what they're doing as well. Yeah. So like that's what I do. I take an experience and I go, well, I'm going to facilitate that really well. I'm going to build on some education, some learning into that. I'm going to add some value into it. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes as easy as that.
That's what you're doing differently. That's what your USP is. You're
yeah.
a little bit to it.
Yeah, you come to me. You'll always have an experience. Always have an experience. So it's and at the moment a lot of those are online, which is great. People are loving it, and it's actually interesting, Chris, because my market all of a sudden is going from being Belfast to like, oh right, Sheffield, oh right, Malta, oh right, you know what I mean? Because it's online. So work away. World's your oyster.
Exactly.
So it's good. Yeah, it's good.
The one thing I've sort of started asking myself at the start of this year was, because we did want to go to a different sort of price point. It's like, not, I wouldn't say we're extortionate, but I wanted to be like, right, want to obviously charge a little bit more, but we'll have to be offering more. So I was like, right, how am I going to sell this? Because like moving house, it can be a positive experience for some people, but it can be a very negative for other people. So there, like, it's not an essential. So when you're moving house, you need your solicitors, you need your estate agents, you need your mortgage broker. You don't necessarily need a removal company. And there's a lot. So I'm sitting thinking to myself, right, what are we going to do differently here? Like, how am I going to justify this and make it a great experience? So I've just come up, right, we provide a stress-free moving experience. Boom. It's like, right, that's our market. I was like, right, how are we going to sell it? How are we going to make sure that the front end is going to deliver on that promise? So we've just really tightened up those and just trying to offer more and do more. And it came down to having to develop my sales skills, because I done sales years ago, but I never really sold a service like this before. So just had to tighten it up and make sure that everybody, customers and staff and everybody, were in line and they all knew what we were selling. And that's kind of how we've grown quite rapidly over the last year.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking as you were talking, like, not everybody needs a removal person, like, and not everyone needs what I do. Not like, and I think it's that word need is really, really important when we're, talking about sales. I think that, like, you need to find the people that need what you do, but also you need to like be able to like assess that need as part of your kind of sales process as well. So you need to, as part of your kind of sales conversation, you need to be like addressing that, figuring out what that person needs, and then matching that to your service or whatever your business does. So like, it's okay. So there's other companies, right? So say, take for example my business. There's other companies that'll go in and say, so I say meaningful team building experiences that improve business performance, right? Fine. There's other people that'll say, well, I'll do a conventional sales training for you, and they'll go in and do that thing. But the point is, it's like, and I've spoken to companies about this before, and I've asked them about the training experience. People just come in and flog training services. Like, let's say you need a sales training, right? How do they know? There needs to be some kind of assessment there, something, or a part of your sales conversation where you're figuring out what they actually need, and then saying, you know what, you actually need this service, or you need that, and we base that recommendation on this. And it'll be the same way in which you'll approach clients for removals. Like, you're not gonna, if someone wanted to move, I don't know, take a couple of bags to the dump. I don't know, you may want to do it, you might do it. But they could probably, do you know what I mean? It throws in the back of the car. It's about, I'm really reducing that to basics, but like, I think you know what I mean. It's like, you need to be able to identify a need in someone, and then just address that.
Definitely. And there's some, and I actually feel bad for almost shooting myself in the foot sometimes, because so many people phone me going, can you do this? Can you do that? And we sort of have a minimum of what we go out for now. And it works well, but then people are sitting going, I want a cheap quote, or I want this. And I'm passing business on to so many other people that I know in the industry, excuse me, who are doing a good job at a lower price point. And if people are constantly fixated on what the price is, then their service, like, they're not really going to want our company, because they're going to not want to pay the price. And that's fine, but maybe they only need something basic, like you say, excuse me, a few things taken to the dump, or maybe they only need like a sofa moved somewhere from A to B. We're just kind of, we've just really niched down, and I think that was a big thing as well. Niching down into what you're really good at, and getting really, really good at it before you expand, instead of being a jack of all trades and a master of none. But
it's interesting. There's another couple of things I kind of want to talk about and bring up, because I think that's one thing, right? And it's like, I think most people who are in sales or have a small business are able to say, well, that's the type of business we'll do, or at least they ought to be. That's the type of business we'll do, and that's the type of business we're not going to do. But I think one thing that people struggle with sometimes, there's a few things from a sales point of view, and it's probably like getting the commitment from somebody to do the work. So you're in with a business and you're talking to them, and it's actually about doing that thing, arranging next steps effectively. And you know what the hardest, the hardest thing for people, I think, in this part of the world is,
What's
you're going to
this?
agree with me, is asking awkward questions as a salesperson, asking your customer an awkward question, i.e., I'm trying to sell you something, and I can tell because of the way your body language is, because of the way you are, you're not giving me a lot of bad signals, that you're maybe not that interested. You're maybe not that interested in what I've got to offer. So I just ask you, and I say, listen, Chris, I don't think you're that interested in what I've been reading this here. Am I reading this right? And just putting it out there and addressing that. And I find that really works for me. But the reason why it doesn't work in this part of the world is because people hate being confrontational. People would much rather go, oh, okay, well, sure, I'll give you a shout in a couple of weeks then.
Yeah.
Never get a hold of that person again, or it never comes back to you. And actually, but the point is, if you do that, if you make that, bring that up and say, listen, Chris, I don't think I really put that across well. I'm just not getting the sense here that that really got through to you, or not. Is there something you maybe didn't understand? Not being rude, but just being assertive enough to ask that question. And
Yeah.
then actually sometimes people will say, no, I just genuinely need a bit of time to think about it, or whatever, fine. But sometimes people will say, you know what, actually, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that price. But what's happened now is they've brought up the objection, and you can go, right, okay, well, let me explain that. Let me explain why it's that price.
Yeah.
And just gives you another opportunity to address it. I
Yeah,
find that.
the,
Do you know what I mean?
because sometimes sometimes you feel like you're being rushed sometimes by a prospect or whatever they call it in this part of the world. I read too many American books, but yeah,
You
sometimes
do.
you do run things through things very quickly, and then you hit a price, and then all of a sudden it's a bit like, well, what are you getting for that? When I actually run through what they're getting for, they're like, oh, right, it does include that and it includes that. Oh, that's actually not too bad. And yeah, do you know what? I used to really struggle with that, William, with because I would see that their people weren't the band signals weren't there, and then all of a sudden I would reduce the price to try and get the sale, and then
Yep.
I walk away from it going, why the fuck did I do that? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm annoyed because now I'm going to be going into a job. It's not going to be profitable, and
Yep.
it's really annoying. I'm getting much better at saying at getting the no and going, oh, like, maybe it's not for you, and that's fine.
But
But address
it's like,
that discomfort whenever there's money talk involved. It can be so awkward, and you're right. It is this side of the world. I don't think it's as big as a problem in maybe America, but
it's
definitely in
not.
the UK.
It's not even as big a problem in England. Like when I was selling in England before, and like you go in, and if they didn't like what you were saying, just told you. Like they were like, I didn't have a clue what you were talking about there, or I don't understand that, or whereas people here from a buying point of view are much more likely to go, oh yeah, that's interesting. I must give you a wee shout out. It's basically just another way of saying no. But
Yeah,
this is the point as well, right? If you've got a sales pipeline, and I'm sure you have your CRM and all, whatever, you have a sales pipeline, you have all these people that you're thinking of selling to, and you're quotes out with, and they're all various different stages. And it's kind of like, well, there's people in that pipeline that shouldn't be in there. And so it's how do you then, at that sales meeting or conversation on Zoom meeting,
yeah,
how do you then make sure that you're not wasting so much time sitting, or you're sitting with that deal size sitting in there, and you're going, I need that money, I'm banking on that 800 quid or 1200 quid or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're not getting it because you were never getting it. You need to be addressing that front end. And actually, I actually find that you get a lot more respect as well front end. You get a lot more respect from the customer, because if you're doing that in a confident way and more assertive and being sure of yourself,
yeah.
then the customer can see that. Whereas if you're doing that whole thing of like, I'm not saying, I'm not slagging people off. I know people have got like different ways of doing things, and that's fine. And sometimes the real being really annoying and ringing people all the time
All you
just
people
over
who
and
are
over
getting
again works
offended,
for people.
for all the people getting offended, it's William Redpath. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Sorry, William. Go ahead. What you said.
idiots. But no, look, I mean that works. Whatever that works doesn't work for me. I have to. If I don't think you're into what I'm doing, I'll say it. I'll say, listen, I don't think you're into this.
But
Like, in fact, I've got a call tomorrow, and there's
but
a guy there. I've got to go back and look at something. There's a guy there, and like, I don't think he's into what I'm doing, but I'm going to tell him. I'm going to see what he says. He might turn around to me and say, no, it's fine. It was just on a bad day. But he's probably going to say, no, I'm not. No, it's like, it's all right. No
yeah,
problem. Whatever. I'll help you. But do that, and like have some respect for yourself, have some respect for your business, your process,
that
and then
that
you'll feel
totally
much better about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's all those sales meetings that we have walked out of. You know, all those sales meetings that you've walked out of, whether in this business or another life or whatever, and you've gone to yourself, I really wish I had asked them about that. I really wish I had asked another question. I really wish I had said that. See
Yeah.
all the things that are going through your head when you come out and walk out of the room, just say them. Like it's a business meeting, it's a sales meeting. People are expecting certain things to happen. It's not about dancing around the subject. It's not about being nervous. It's just about having confidence in what you do and saying that to somebody. And I think that's totally fine. Like I remember I'm trying to really hammer this point home here because I think it's important.
This is really good stuff.
But
I 100% agree. I think you're spot on because I suffered from it so much. So yeah, what be
there
saying?
was somebody came to me. Somebody came to me a while ago, and it was when I was working in a previous job, and they're having issues with their sales performance, and they're out in the road, and they were going to meetings. So I wasn't in the meetings, right? Or I wasn't seeing looking at them on the phone or anything. But so I didn't know what was going on, and she was talking to me about her sales performance and having issues, and I was going through some stuff with her. And I just turned around to her and I says to her, "Are you asking for the business?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Right." So that's the one thing I'd change about what you're doing. Start asking for the business and see if it makes any difference. And you know what? It did. Start asking for the business and start to get more business. If you're in a sales meeting with another business or whatever, salesperson working for somebody or working for yourself, you've got to be asking a question. It doesn't have to be like as like, so do I get the business? It doesn't need to be as like blunt
Yeah.
as that. But you can be asking things like, so what do you think? What are the next steps?
Yeah.
You know, what's the decision making process here? You know, who do you need to take this to get it signed off? You know, you should be asking these questions and asking for the business. And as I said a minute ago, when it's a sales meeting, the buyer is expecting to be asked for, like, is expecting to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
ask the person. Like, there's too many times you walk out and you go, right, well, sure, I'll get you a wee price then. Let's get it over an email. You might as well just delete their number.
Well,
You're never going to talk to them again.
I have people, removals people in England who do that, who say, well, we'll send you a price over tomorrow. I'm like, no, you should basically know what the price is at that point, roughly. Or say,
Yeah, ballpark.
yeah, ballpark figure. I'd be like, look, here's what you're looking at. And then I would try and get the commitment there on the spot now.
Yeah.
It's the exact same way. And when you do that whole dance, when you know what your service is worth or what your product's worth. I've never sold a product in my life, believe it or not. So I've never sold services, which is so strange. But when you're sort of dancing around that subject and you get hit with a price objection, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, right, will you do it for this? And then you say yes, and then you're sitting there going, why did I do that? But then those are usually the worst customers because they've already lost respect for you. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, look, my view on that is, I think in terms of the pricing,
Start demanding more, almost.
yeah, I totally. And there's a threshold. I think, like, I totally agree. The guys that are bringing in the least amount of money into your business as customers are usually the most troublesome. I find that. I think that, and particularly if you've given them a lot of discounts, I think from my point of view, though, I think if someone's asking questions like, so what's the price, or could you do? Those are all buying signals for me. Do you know what I mean? So that's got to be a positive in the sales meeting. Now, how you deal with that situation, I think, is important.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, you might do 5% off. I don't know. You might do something. You might do that based on the fact it's like, well,
Yeah.
are you going to give me more work in the future?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You might do something, right? But I think that a good way to deal with that is, I always go with the old mantra of like, agree, overturn, reimpulse, close. Has always worked for me. So like, if someone hits you with that objection, Chris, this is too expensive. The first thing I do is agree with them.
So
Yeah, it is expensive.
yeah, I do the same. Look, I know
It is.
look, I agree. I know it's a bit more expensive than your normal removal, but I can assure you that we've got professional movers and we've got this, we've got that, top quality equipment. I assure you, and that includes this, and this. I assure you, you're in good hands. And usually that's enough to sort of push them over the line because it's not usually huge amounts of money of a difference, but people kind of want to know they're being looked after.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, that's it.
the chances are, if the one thing that really pushes over for us, for me anyway, is when because I go out to most bigger properties now and actually take a list and do a really thorough inspection, and that really plays a big part with people. And a lot of people don't do that, and I didn't realize that until I started doing it. So just even going up and being thorough and asking questions and being friendly, instead of just going, right, how many bedrooms is the house? This is what the price is. How can you be prepared if you haven't even seen it? I think that's
If you're right, exactly.
my whole thing is like I want to be as prepared.
Exactly. So,
I want my guys to be prepared going on the day so that they can do the best job possible.
yeah, exactly. And people appreciate that, and that's why you've been successful. But I think that for me, it's the same sort of thing. So I get people contact me to say, right, so want to do this experience, right? It's the first thing that I ask them is like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that thing, right? Just whatever, because I'm trying to get this outcome. It's like, you see, if you're looking for these types of outcomes, if you're trying to improve your communication skills, you're only going mountain biking. You want to you want to be doing something else, which is going to actually involve using communication. Or if you're trying to develop leadership, you want to be doing something which is going to let your people develop those skills by practicing in some way through some experience. So it's about, I think, from my point of view, it's about first of all addressing what that need is. So what the customer's trying to get out of it. And all right, that's a bit led, right, from my point of view. But I think another we're getting interrupted now. My mom's here. All right, it's all right. She says, "Hey."
Hello, how are you?
There you go. There we go. Big time podcaster. All right, well, here she gives me the best advice at anybody, so it's all good.
She what?
But she gives me the best advice at anybody.
Brilliant.
Anytime I think about giving someone a discount, you can just slap around the head.
Yeah.
She's like, "What's your rate?" I was like, "What's this?" She goes, "Right, that's the price then." It's like, I gotta get her involved. I gotta get her involved. So yeah, I think it was saying about, yeah, we're talking about price and workup. So the point is, yeah, there's stuff I do, say escape room stuff. That's kind of rinse and repeat. So I kind of know what the price is going to be. But someone rings me up and says, "How much is this training?" Well, what's the training for? Who's it for? What are you trying to get out of it? Then I'm going to think about doing something good, something effective that people are going to remember.
Yeah.
It's going to be enjoyable. It's going to be fun. So I'm going to design something that's bespoke. So there might be some fixed costs for me. There's going to be time writing that training session. It's going to be delivery time itself of actually doing it. There's maybe a follow-up. I factor all that into my cost. But if someone picks up the phone to me and says how much is it for a 2-hour training session, that's a bit like someone ringing up you and go, or me ringing you now and say, right, how much does it mean for me to move house? You need a price now. It's the same thing. You've got to actually work out what's involved in that job and price
Exactly.
accordingly.
But I think for me that would be brilliant. If I phoned you up and I said, look, I'm thinking about doing this, and you were like, well, how big's your team? What are you trying to get out of it? How many are?
Tell me about the guys. You're the guys.
And maybe you go, do you know what? I think you'd be perfect for paintball, because that's going to get. I'd be like, fucking brilliant, happy day. I would consider that really good service. That's I would think about it, and I'd be like, well, if we had a really good experience, I would remember you. I'd be like, this guy, I phoned him up about something, and then he suggested this because what we were trying, and we had a great day.
Yeah. Probably, and it's where I'm going to take this business is much more around, because for me that's the gap here in the market. The way that type of stuff is done here is very much prescribed by the company that's selling it. They need to sell more of this type of course, so they're just going to flog that to everybody. Whereas I'm trying to go in and say, listen, what do you actually need? Do you need this stuff? What sort of thing are you after? And let's talk about your business. Let's talk about your business needs and how this might match that. Now, it might not. We might not work together. That's okay. But there might be something there, what I offer, that could add value to your business. So it's about figuring that. That's the thing about figuring that bit out. So there's a whole assessment thing to go through, first of all, before we start recommending a whole bunch of training. Or if it's
almost like a pre-qualifying questionnaire, but you're not really pre-qualifying them. It's just an assessment.
Yeah, and there's an interesting thing I'm putting together. It's with somebody else actually. So there's another thing that's working well for me. Collaborations are working really well for me at the moment, but it's getting me into good customers. But so I'm working with somebody else on a I guess it's a package thing. But the point is, the way it works is that there's kind of two elements to it. So the first one is that we're going into an organization saying, right, okay, let's have a chat. We're in this post-COVID world now. Let's have a chat about your kind of business needs, and let's like think about how healthy is your company, not if in a very personal, individual sort of way. Like let's talk about the needs of every individual, but let's think about your culture. Let's think about your staff development. What does that look like? Let's think about well-being, and let's look at all those different facets.
Yeah.
What are you doing for all those things? And then as part of it, we're doing a big assessment. So the activities now I deliver is part of that assessment. So I'll be putting people I was going to say putting people through the ringer, if you will, but I'll be pushing people a wee bit to try and find a bit more about them.
Yeah.
And what will happen after maybe 2 or 3 days of delivery is I'll produce a report at the end of that and give that to you or somebody and say, right, Chris, these are your people here. This is what they're good at. This is what they're not good at.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to charge something for that report, right? And it's going to be like, say, 10-page report or whatever it is, but it's going to give you a lot of information about your people.
Yeah.
And then within that, there's going to be some recommendation for training, which you may or may not take up. But there's two kind of points of value. There's one bit of value in knowing about your people more than you ever did before and what they need. And then the second bit, which is actually recommending some training for those people. So you can go and do the training and we'll do some training and provide that and provide more experiences. And that might take place over a couple of months or 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like what people are looking for, because people are sick of I don't know how many you've done, but like people are sick, trust me, of signing up for modules online, which is like a YouTube video and learn how to do something. Or just having someone come in and it's like, right, you need to go sit in the boardroom now all day and listen to this guru here, this genius, talk you through his PowerPoint, his slide deck about how to be a better salesperson.
People do want to be engaged in an actual activity. I know if it was me and someone dragged me into a boardroom all day, I'd be like, fuck.
You'd be going, get me out of here.
You'd be bored. So what,
like, you love your activities.
You would, but
you love your co-steering and all sorts.
I know. I do. I like being out and about, and skydiving. I've done bungee jumping. I've done coasting. I've done all sort of paintballing. I would love to do those things, and even something different. I've actually been thinking now because I was going. We didn't have a Christmas do, and I was going to think about doing something which I'll speak to you about later on or another time. But I wanted to do something with the guys, probably towards the end of the year now, or maybe around September time, just to even for a weekend for a thing.
Don't be in any real rush. We're still getting back.
Yeah, well, no, I was planning on doing it anyway. Then this whole thing hit, and but like, how bad is culture and the environment in organisations at the minute from the ones you've seen?
How bad is it?
Yeah, is it a real problem?
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, look, there's 2 reasons why I think it's a real difficulty. Actually, maybe three reasons, and why it's specifically bad here. I think where we live is that the first one obviously is because of the current crisis. Okay, so people have been off work for a long time, or they've been working under a lot of pressure. So there's an issue there, and there's how people then go, like, I'm sitting at home, I'm disconnected from work, I'm not in that environment anymore, maybe I'm thinking about doing something else now. So from an employer's point of view, they're losing touch with their staff, and people are thinking about leaving and going to do something else. So that's kind of hard. There's the second thing about, and I love it here, right? I love this place, whatever you call it. I love it. I think people here are amazing. I think it's a good place to do business. But one thing we struggle with as a family business economy, small business economy, I think sometimes you are a wee behind the curve when it comes to things like staff engagement, things like thinking about personal development plans within an organization. I just think sometimes we're not as up to speed as maybe we should be. We're more about, it's kind of a bit more get the job done and we'll worry about that later on. I think there's that aspect of it. But the biggest thing I think, and you see more and more of this is, so by 2025, over 70% of the workforce in Ireland are going to be millennials. Okay. Yeah. And big challenge with people, with millennials, people around that sort of age group, is that increasingly there's a big values conflict between how they feel their career should be going, the sort of things they want to be doing in their life, versus the work that they're doing, the kind of the nature of it, because it's maybe a bit mundane. Maybe they don't think it makes much of a difference. Maybe they feel like they're a bit of a cog.
Paying your dues.
Yeah, that's changed. I think people are. You just need to look at the attrition rates in companies now and how quickly people leave places. If people don't like it, people will vote with their feet. They're gone. And I think my mum and dad, they've worked in the same organization, mum for about 30 years, dad for about 30 years each, right? That's the way
Yeah.
it is. That's the way our generation was. Different now. So my point is, if that is the case, so there's my mum and dad, right? And they're going, well, okay, I don't really like my job, but it's your job, so I'm just gonna get on with it, 9 to 5 and whatever, crack on. But the difference now is that people are actually still feeling the same way, right? But they're going, but I don't like it, so I'm going to do something else. So they're moving around. From an employer's point of view, that's a difficult situation,
Yeah.
because if they're not, and then if you actually assess this population of people and they're saying, well, one of the most important things that I'm looking for in a company that I want to stay with is training and development.
Yeah.
If you're not delivering that as an employer, they're going to leave. And that's the next generation of your managers. That's your next director. That's your next sales director. That's your, you know,
Yeah.
those things you have to be focused on as a business. So I suppose what I'm saying is, you asked me a question about culture, where I kind of read it. I think there's a lot of challenges, existential challenges at the moment around some of the stuff that I've described, COVID, around the kind of age group that people are working with. But I think employers they can do something about it. I think they can. It's
Yeah.
not like they're doomed. I think they can do something about it. It's just about, like, you just gotta engage with your staff more. You've got to
Yeah.
be doing more stuff with your staff, Chris. It's key.
I have a point to make. So I was going to ask you something about. I'm just trying to figure out how to word this, but
You're gonna have a go with millennials.
no, yeah, a little bit, yeah. No,
Do
but
it.
not just millennials.
I'll get you some. I'll get you lots of views.
This isn't just millennials. This is because that's a real, like, I know millennials and I know some of them are real loyal, real good workers, and so I'm not putting anybody in a category. I'm just talking about people in general.
I'm offending people again.
People want to wake up every single day and feel amazing about what to do. Now, some days are just not going to be like that. Some days you're just going to have to grind your heels in and get things done. As an overall level of happiness, yes, absolutely, you should be doing something that makes you that you are happy doing and you're enjoying doing, or there's some sort of development, or sometimes you are just paying your dues and that's just the way it is. But if there's something in your work that's making you deeply unhappy, then yes, leave. But don't wake up after a few days and just because you're at that age where you have to pay your dues and think I have to leave and try something else. But you should try different things, but understand that every single day is not going to be amazing. Sometimes you just have to dig your heels in and get on with it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think by doing that it builds resilience, but that's my personal opinion. Because if you just leave and go and gets tough, then the same thing's going to happen the next job, the next job, the next job,
Yep.
and you're not going to grow. You're not going to build any resilience. You're not going to have any. You're not going to build anything through tough times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, and it's good advice. And I suppose I'm speaking probably to a kind of in a certain way. I am speaking in kind of a reality, and I appreciate you and I are sitting here. And we're probably saying that I wasn't. I don't feel like I was part of that sort of. I was in the same business for years, and
yeah,
I felt like I was comparatively, for people my age, quite a long time. But like, and it was good. A lot of good times there. But I think, like, I had a lot of tough times. I didn't get these wrinkles in this hairline from, like, it was loving life all the time. But I, I think,
hey, your brother.
right? You know what I mean, brother? But the point is that, like, I think what you were saying is that it's people that do have a romantic idea. You get people contacting about starting a business. I get people contacting me about starting a business, and people have this romantic idea that it's all going to be rainbows and butterflies, and they're going to be loving life every
Yeah,
day of the week. And the reality is, it's not like that. And in fact, whenever you start a business, you don't get 100 customers from day one. It's very, very hard. Probably for the first year or two, you'd make more money working at McDonald's than you would running a business. So, like,
yeah,
you need
absolutely,
to be
hundred
you need to
percent.
be ready for that, and you need to be ready of going, having sleepless night, going, how am I going to pay that rent, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like,
people think because you've got a few vans. For me, especially, people think because I've got a few vans on the road, you're doing really well, and like I couldn't even, like, I started by working nights in a van from 6 p.m. till
Yeah.
12 p.m. and getting up for work the next day, doing the same
Yep.
thing, 6 p.m. to 12. I was working nights in the summer because it was bright. And when I quit my job, the first few months were really, really difficult because I had all the bills to pay, but I wasn't really getting a wage. Even
Yeah.
recently, I had to give up. I gave up my car to try and expand my business, and that's 4 years in when I've been making, when we've actually had more revenue and profit than we've ever had. So
Yeah.
I made that decision consciously. All right, I want to get rid of my car because it's too big an expense. Most people don't see that and the sacrifices that you have to make.
No, and we're
And
sitting here
let
about,
just cruising around a van for 5 or 6 days and throw a few bags in the bin, and all of a
yeah,
sudden we're going to. I'm like,
and we're
I
sitting
don't like to be the person who's killing, but people are like, oh, how much money can you make a day? I'm like, look, forget about that. I'm like, let's talk about your service. What are you offering? Like, fuck
yes,
whatever money you're going to make, because you're not going to make any money if you don't have a good service. How are you going
yes.
to deal with calls? How are you going to do bookings? Like, all these things are so, like, on the back end. I I do more work on the back end than I do the front end now because my guys are so experienced. I don't really need to worry about that anymore. But those are the challenge and the sacrifice you have to make. It's really, really tough.
The word sacrifice is really interesting because there is something else around this whole kind of what's seen in public, whether and usually on social media is like, and it's
I
all
like
like,
to portray that image that I'm, and I just,
yeah.
that
So
I'm posing for the photograph. I love portraying that image because the people that know me know that's not my reality.
it's a spook. I'm getting photos on I'm getting some photos on Friday. I'm really excited about it. But this, I want to talk to you really quickly about this sacrifice thing.
Yes.
So I had a job which paid really, really well. Like it was a good wage I got. And whenever I was leaving that job and the age, so I'm 31 now, and the age I was, and by all accounts, right, people were looking at my lifestyle then and like nice holidays, car, own my own house, all good. And people are going, he's doing really well. So but I didn't feel like I was being true to myself, and I felt like I wanted to do something else. So in order to create those conditions to start a business, I'd sell my house, move back in with mum and dad, had to, as a kind of 30 year old, um, and there were a lot of people, like people that I would have counted as like quite good friends, right? So people that like
It
are
takes
nice circle,
serious humility to do that.
taking the piss out of you, saying, "Well, you're moving back with your mum and dad." They're all getting married and doing that whole thing, right? And putting it all on Instagram, and they're going like, what are you doing? Like, have you had like, are you all right? You had a nervous breakdown? What's wrong with you? You know, and I'm going, well, because I have to reset here. I have to maybe take a couple of steps back. But I think in a few years' time I'm going to be flying, so I have to do it now. Because I sort of looked at it at the time as well, and I was thinking of getting another house, and then I was like, now, if I do that, if I get that, if I make a decision, then I'm committed to that decision. You know, I'm not going to leave the job. It's going to be difficult. Well, I can obviously, you can always do it, right? You can always move, but it's going to be more difficult. So why not try this? Now, I'm not guaranteeing it's going to work, but at least I know I'm going to give this a go for a couple of years, and I think it will work. But if it doesn't, at least I know giving it a shot. I've had to make a couple of sacrifices to do it, but it's not easy, right? It's not easy moving back in your folks when you're friggin' 30.
Not a
Do you know
30.
what I mean?
No way.
Back in, and then you've got all your mates and all going, "What's going on with you?"
That's where you have to be so clear up here with why you're doing it. It's like, wow,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not about money. It's because you want to do something you enjoy and
yeah,
that's free you up. Maybe by the time you're 35, it could even be 40. You're going to have a lifestyle that you're really proud of and that you really
yeah.
like. And that's the thing that people are just so focused on the money. And yes, the money is important because you need to make money in business. Otherwise, what's the point? But it's about creating that lifestyle and just creating something from scratch for yourself.
Yeah.
And
So
pride, but to do that like you're doing right now, that's a big bite of humble pie you've had to take.
no,
And
it is. It
so
is. You're going from having a holiday, 2 week holiday in France or wherever, Spain, to now going on a camping trip to is that skilling? But here, it's all good.
it is
It's all
all.
good.
I haven't had a
Do you know what I
holiday.
mean?
I haven't had a holiday in 2 years. I've actually booked one the other night for September because I've been away in 2 years.
Nice one.
Those are the things that you have to do, and you don't. Well, you don't have to do them, but when you think about what you could be, I just feel very fortunate to be in a position where, yes, I'm 30. Yes, I've got a lot of free time. I've got a lot of free time, and I've got a lot of potentially disposable income because of no kids and all that. So,
Yeah.
so I can live on a really small salary and reinvest a lot back into my business. And that's, I might not be able to do that in 3, 4, 5 years. I might get a
Yeah.
phone call next week from someone just got, and all of a sudden your expenses go up. You just don't know. But this is the thing, you just don't know. You just don't know. So you kind of have to do it. And that's why I feel fortunate enough to be in the position that I am now, because I'm trying to create a lifestyle for when I do have those,
Yes.
when I have a wife and kids, that I'm going to be able to enjoy that lifestyle, and I'm not going to be, I can't take the kids to school because I'm going to work. I can't.
Right.
I've
I
got
think that is
that.
justifiable, defensible position. It's totally like people have asked me, see, it shuts people down like instantly when they take a piss or whatever. It's like, well, I'm trying to build a future for me and my girlfriend.
Yeah,
I'm trying to build a future with something that I'm proud of. And
yeah,
then people go, and then you sort of go like, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm an account manager for
yeah,
okay, and you know what I mean? I'm sure. It's
yeah.
like do something you're proud of. Have some pride in yourself, and like, and look, I'm not saying, by the way, I'm also not saying run the business is not for everybody. Run the business is not for every single person. There's certain people that it won't suit, and there's conditions, people at different circumstances, and I appreciate that. But the one thing I can't handle is people that are really miserable in their own situation, not prepared to do anything about it whatsoever, and then but are very happy to take pot shots at people that are trying to change their situation. And I just think that's unfortunately that kind of negative energy. I think is because of the way people are here, and because people find it difficult sometimes to think they can do anything. I just don't like people doing that, because it kind of it
People
can
find
sometimes
it
take away
hard.
from people's skills.
People
You
find
know
it
what I
hard to be humble over here. You know, nobody wants to take a step back. Everybody wants to show everybody else that they've got this amazing life, and but realistically, they're deeply unhappy, and that's where the pot shots that other people come in here. We trying to do this, or they're trying to do that. Like, I respect anybody who is willing to make a serious personal sacrifice to achieve what they want, because it's so difficult to sidestep the negative comments from other people. It's really difficult. Well, it is at the start. After a while, it's pretty much okay.
I've it's fine. I've like over it. The start, I think it was taking a bit thick, but like now it's fine. You just sort of go, well, I'm laser focused on what I want now, so I'm going to go and get it. And I
And
think it's
now
the
you've got
start.
momentum. Now you've
Yeah,
got
you get when you and yeah, obviously when you start getting a few customers, start getting paid, it changes it as well, because you sort of start believing in it a bit more. You go, oh, right, okay, here we go. So that's quite good. But I think like it's that first sort of bit when you're still maybe thinking about making the decision, and then people are doing it. But it's funny, like, and we talked about it at the very start. And look, I'm just bringing this up because I just want to be real at the
yeah,
minute about like what it's like and what you need to be prepared to do. But we talked about it in Americans at the start. I told since I came back, I told a couple of them, what I've been up to. They're like, that's it. They're impressed. They're like, that's what you need to do. And they're very much into the whole idea of, yes, if you want to start something, be prepared to make sacrifice and make it happen. They're very encouraging. So their culture is all around that kind of like, they've got business owners like up here, wealth creators, people that are going out and making it for themselves. And I think it's good. And look, the encouraging thing of what I would just say about this whole topic, we're talking about sacrifice and people maybe that negative energy. What I would say is, you see, whenever you're committed to something, and you'll have seen this as well, see,
yeah,
eventually people start to rally around you. People you start to go, and it pivots. It starts to go from like, what's this guy at? He's lost it. He's gone mental. He's gone moving in with his folk.
yeah,
And they start to move in there. They're texting you now going, oh, how's the business going, mate? Oh,
yeah,
nice one. Saw that LinkedIn
yeah,
post and all. It
yeah.
starts to change.
Love
Starts to
those
change.
photos. Love the marketing. Love your videos. All those things, and that's what's important. And you just have to be able to push through it. And again, that's what building resilience is all about. Mental resilience, being able to do that, and take that step back and push through, push past what people are going to say, and actually start taking action, because it's tough, and you're going to hit roadblocks, and I hit them every single day. And it's just because you even now, pushing past, just getting the money in the bank, and getting to a place where it's starting to roll in nicely and consistently.
Yeah,
Now
that's good.
I've got different challenges. I'm trying to learn accounts. I'm trying to learn how to be a sales manager. I'm trying to learn how to be a team leader. and it's difficult because I'm still at that stage where I'm juggling so many balls, managing director, operations. So it's just there's small skills needed in every area, and it's like something goes wrong, like fuck, right, I have to make sure that doesn't happen again. And those are the big challenges, but that's
But
good. See,
I,
the bigger
yeah,
your problems get and the more challenging they get, that means you're going in the right direction.
no, it is. I agree.
Put it
And
in a
what,
positive way.
you're sort of going, like, whenever things start happening like that, and probably what happens for you, I guess, is that you're dealing with these issues now, but then like 6 months down the line, you look back at it and you go, flip's sake, that's class. Or you sort of reflect on it and you're going like, ah, that's an amazing problem to have. Like whenever I get a nice review from somebody, and like I remember just sitting there and going like, okay, reading this review, and I was thinking there going like, flip's sake, this is class. Like 6 months ago, I was doing whatever I was doing. I wasn't happy or whatever it was. I was thinking of starting a business. And all of a sudden, you look at your bank account, you get some money in your bank account, get a nice review. And it's like, it all starts to sort of like, I don't know if that speaks directly to your point, but I think it all starts to make sense a wee bit more. It's like, and it's almost like you sort of deal with whatever you're dealing with. And it's only after the event, I think, you realize you appreciate kind of how far you've come.
Yeah,
I think is probably where I'm at, and you're much further on the road than me.
wouldn't
But
necessarily say that. It's just
good problem to have.
two different businesses. I don't think I'm far at all. It's just I've come far from where I started, but there's still I still feel I'm very, very early on what we're trying to do. Like there's still so many roadblocks to overcome, and so many challenges that are coming our way. So the biggest thing for me is going to be keeping the team in line, keeping not in line, just keeping them motivated and keeping them in with the vision of what we're trying to do. And a lot of them have bought into it, which is
Good.
why they work hard, and it's tough. It's not easy, but it's worth it because it means that my staff turnover is really, really low, so low.
I've no doubt. Yeah, which in that sort of business, I'm sure is unusual.
Yeah,
Um,
Jesus, if I
you
was
know,
that'll be another thing, a recruitment process. Jesus, but those are all challenges that are coming my way, and I just have to realize they're coming and just take
no,
it.
here it's good, and like there's a whole bunch of stuff. I think like for me, I'm still kind of far away from that. The challenge for me, I think, is that, and I have to be honest, the one of the reasons I think why my stuff works is because of me, to a certain extent, because of my skills and like who I am. So my challenge is around how do I get how do I scale that? I can't scale
Yeah,
me. You know what I mean? It's like I need to think of a way to set up my business where I, as the salesperson slash trainer slash whatever, can take myself out of that and replicate that. So I just need to think about more automation.
yeah,
So that's my kind of challenge. But I'm not really there. That at the end of the day, I'm still in that kind of feedback loop. I think as a business owner, you probably should always be in a feedback, loop
yeah,
and making things better. But I'm still there doing that. I'm still building up my reputation. I'm in that kind of visibility, credibility, profitability sort of thing
yeah.
at the moment, which is fine. I don't mind doing that. And like,
You flip from all three all the time.
yeah, of course it is. Yeah, and as you develop new things and new ways of doing things, you go through it again. So
Yeah,
I think it's okay. Like, but I would know deep down. I would know if I wasn't happy with something, or if I wasn't happy with where the business was
yeah,
at, or whatever. And I'm happy with it. I get inquiries regularly. I'm doing work. I enjoy doing the stuff. I enjoy delivery. So for me, it's fine. I think like the next challenge for me probably is the consistency. It's just about the consistent sort of bookings. But I'm just my sort of goal with that, Chris, is really just working on um, getting involved with first of all, packaging my services in a way which uh, is more of a retainer type thing. So maybe I'll be working with a company for 2 or 3 months, do it that way, or working with somebody where maybe they are a company that delivers some element of training, and maybe they're a I'm having conversations right at the minute with a couple of people who are a location that are
yeah,
reopening, and
yeah,
they're interested in me and the services that I offer and coming in a regular basis and delivering stuff. So
yeah,
that's interesting to me because they're picking up the phone to me saying, William, can you come in and X date and do what you do? So the phone's ringing and I'm not having to go and hunt for the business, so that's kind of where I'm trying to get to. Because once I start getting those consistent bookings through packaging it or getting people to ring me, then it's a case of going, right, okay, now we need more people. And then I can worry about how do I make this more automated, how to make this more process driven, So
brilliant. Unbelievable. So
good.
Just to wrap up finally, what would you like to say to the people who have stayed to listen to the end of this episode? Because I think there's some stuff. There's some really, really good stuff in there about sales and starting business, which is fantastic. So what would you like to say to anybody who stayed until the end?
I think see, from a business point of view, it's gotta be, honestly, it's been the best thing I've ever done in life, starting a business. If you are considering starting a business, and maybe why you're watching this podcast is for that reason, then I would just say get started. Honestly, get started. Stop worrying about whether people are going to like this or whether people are going to like that. The best feedback you can get for a business or a product or a service is to get out there and charge for it. Like, the public are the best sounding board, focus group you're going to have. You can talk about your ideas all day long. The best thing you can do is try it, honestly, and charge for it and see what you think, and then improve it, make it better. That would be my advice. Get started.
Awesome.
You'll figure it out.
Look, thank you very much for coming on, William.